right, check it out, man. I'm about to hop in real quick and talk about last night's game against the Kings and the Clippers, and that was a great game. I was like impressed with the overall just play of basketball. You know, just both teams actually were make a lot of tough shots. They were making a lot of easy shots as well because there was a lot of defensive lapses, especially on the Clippers part. You know, they could they a lot of their a lot of the shots outside the Kings were making were easy buckets, just miscommunication, and they were not paying attention. They were just weren't used to playing with each other, you know. So they got kind of caught into playing against a team that's been playing with each other all year. So I think that had a lot to do with how they were able to stay in the game and stay together for most part of the game because there was times in the game where the Clippers were kind of not knowing what each other were doing. And that, like I said, just because you add a player like Russ to the lineup and you start him on top of that, some when you bring that into the equation, then you're gonna have like you know miscommunication because you guys are not used to playing, especially when it's your point guard. You're saying this is gonna be our point guard for the rest of the season. We start him, the first game that he comes to the team. So it's just like just miscommunication from both from them and just a not hard fought game from Sacramento because they, like I said, they stayed together. They got a hot night from Malik Monk. They got a great night from De'Aaron Fox. But he's usually he's good for 30. On any given night. So he just took it up another level. He was making shots and then he was getting to the hoop because nobody could stop him from getting to the basket. So it was just and they just played a good game. Everybody else in it they got enough production from everybody else. I think everybody almost scored on their roster that played the game. And Sabonis, when he was in the game, he was doing a lot of things, but he was just getting in foul trouble. For some of them were ticky tack, in my opinion. I think it was should have. There was a couple that a couple of offense, couple of illegal screens that it is what it is. Just a part of the game. As long as nobody's pushing each other around, I don't see the problem with some of those fouls. So I thought it could have been he could have been in the game a little bit more. But the refs called the game they wanted to call it. I think they compensated for it by getting to the line and giving them a lot of and ones. And they were calling a lot of late and ones for both sides of the ball. So it was just kind of the refs were kind of letting them play, but at the same time, you know letting them manufacture buckets if they get hit, in the paint even a little bit, they're gonna call the foul and one. They were even calling on jumpers. So I was like, yeah, they were kind of like calling the game that was not quite physical, but but they weren't making any calls either. Like they weren't swallowing their whistle either. So it was kind of a weird game that kind of made it, you know, the game go the way it went as far as just everybody making tough shots and everybody 60% shooting and just high powered offense. Even though teams are actually playing decent defense, it wasn't like bad defense being played out there. There were just some guys were just making tough shots. So I thought it was a great game. I thought Kawhi played very well as far as the way he looked, as far as how he was moving out there. But you can tell like after like the first overtime, he was like done with the game. He was like, man, I'm ready to call it a night, and because we should have won this game in regulation. That was the vibe I was getting from him. But he still did his thing. He still being a professional, and tried to help his team win the game. And I'm pretty sure he was focusing more on the defensive end towards those once they got in overtime. He was trying to make some shots when he needed to. He made the timely shots that they needed, but at the same time, he was trying to play defense. Because he was like, all right, we're lacking at that end at this point. Because that's the only reason why we're struggling is because we're making shots, we're doing everything we need to do. We're shooting 60%, so it's not our offense is doing what it's supposed to do, but our defense isn't doing enough. So I'm pretty sure he was focused on that end, and PG, he did his thing. He turned over the ball in the crucial moments of the game, but overall he played a good game. He just and he had a minute restriction. So, but I think if he would have played throughout the game, through the rest of the game, they probably would have had a good chance to win. But he got out the game, and then Russ, he fouled out. But overall, I think he played pretty good. It's the only the and a lot of the turnovers were like kind of not his fault. I would say, he made the right play, but the pass might not have got there in time, or like Plumlee had that one underneath the basket that that he could have caught. Just little plays like that, and then a couple of screens. He needs to learn how to stop moving and screening at the same time. I think those were on him. He had um, those like I said, those illegal those screens where they're not really doing anything. As far as they were calling those on Sabonis too, so you can't really get mad. They're calling it both ways, but you know sometimes you got to let. I mean that kind of jacks up the flow of the game, in my opinion. Unless it's like egregious where they're completely moving them out the way. Where I saw it a couple times they were actually good calls, but there was some I was like, nah, like just quit stopping the game. Basically, everybody's shooting well. Just quit stopping the game, let them play. So I thought it was a good game. Overall, the Clippers could have won that game in like four different ways, but you know Sacramento just found a way to put the score and stop the bleeding, and then they'll just make a shot, and then they'll be back in the game. And this could just went like that throughout the last pretty much the last 5 minutes of the game, where they were up by like 8 points, and then they just kind of let the game just slip away from them. They started missing shots and letting them actually, and the Kings were making threes. They was making tough threes at that. So overall, it was just it was a bang bang game. So I wouldn't. So you gotta tip your hat to the Kings for finishing the job and having having two good guards like that can get to the hoop and then break down your defense and and just hoop. Both of them, De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, did their thing. So you got to tip your hat. Both of them had 41. Monk had 45. Freaking De'Aaron Fox had 42. You can't. That's all you can ask for. Kawhi had 44. On the other end. What I'm saying, you can't ask for more than that from the players. This is a great game. I was happy I got to watch it from start to finish. But I mean, just the Kings just keep doing what they're doing. And try to and build off of that because they got a good win, and and just keep doing what they're doing this season. They're going to keep winning games. I think they're going to be one of the top four teams. Just after watching that game. So I'm pretty confident in that. And then the Clippers just need to just build off of that. They had a great game too. It's kind of weird. You can come back from a loss, and say, we had a great game too. We just didn't execute on the defensive end as we should have. Both teams can actually say that. To be real, like we didn't. Neither of us really executed on defensive end well enough. Even though we both played decent and and well in some moments, but overall, there was, we could did some different things differently to stop some shots from happening. Both teams can sit back and say that. So it was a good game. They can. I think you really kind of come out of it saying that both teams, kind of learned the same things from it, except for the Clippers got to finish the job. You got to close them out at the end. Then you can't give a team like that chances to come back. So they can learn from that. But if I was a Clipper fan, I'd be happy that they what I saw out there and the potential. If a simple thing like turnovers can get fixed, if they can just fix the turnovers, then it's nothing. Then everything should be fine. They should be ready to go in the playoffs, and then hopefully they meet each other again. Because I would like to see that in the series, straight up. I would love to see the Clippers and the Kings play in a 7-game series. That would be dope. When I'm not even tripping on who will win. I just want to see, if the Kings can play like that. 'Cause I always like to see the Kings, do well because it's good for the NBA and it's good for the teams just Sacramento. So that's a good fan base. So when they're winning, what I'm saying, I remember back in the day, it was a good fan base. They come out now. They got some got a team they can fall back on. So it's gonna be good. I think for the rest of the season, as far as for both of the teams, unless the Clippers don't fix their turnovers, and then it's gonna be just kind of gonna be having a lot of games like that where they're just like not being able to finish the game. So if they just don't just do late game execution, both of got to learn that, and it's just I think it can be fixed. You know, I think with the way they played on the first time they ever played together between Kawhi, PG, and Russ, I think it's gonna be they're gonna learn how to play with each other. I think it's gonna be interesting because they were kind of playing. They weren't quite playing with each other yet. They were kind of just being out. They were just kind of out there just doing what they're supposed to do. You can't be mad at Russ having 14 assists. So he has nothing to sneeze at. You know, PG had 32, Kawhi had 44. So they got things they can they can be happy about, but there's also things that they can work on as far as defense. I think that's the real key. The defense and attacking the basket a little bit more, not selling for jumpers. Those are the things I think they should work on. But it's going to be a good season for both teams. I like what I saw, and looking forward to seeing where they end up. In the next few games, because the Clippers got Denver next, and that's going to be a tough game for them. They got, and who knows who's going to play after they played a double overtime game. So one of them, I wouldn't be surprised if Kawhi didn't play that game, but if he does, I'll be like, okay, he's ready for the second half of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does, and we'll see about PG should be playing. I think he's on a minute restriction, so I think he's probably going to be ready to play for that game. But and then Russ is obviously going to play. As much as anyone wants to talk about him, he's always available. But I'm looking forward to seeing him do his thing with the Clippers moving forward. Because it's going to be interesting. And they got a good bench, and it's just they got a good team. They got a good team. They just need to get some chemistry. That was the chemistry game, where the team with the most chemistry was able to finish the game out. So that's what the Clippers can learn from that, and hope the Kings, keep doing their thing, and get a good seat in the playoffs because they're a good team, and yeah, it's gonna be a great season. I'm looking forward to watch some games tonight, and if I see a dope game, I might react to that. Other than that, yeah, I'm about to get up off here and check you guys out later.